So logistically, we can allow up to 100 people on this session, but we have a RSVP for 120. So let's wait for the crowd to come in, and then we'll start in a couple more minutes.
So Jason, can you stretch the room? Can you put additional chairs?
That is a technicality we have to work on, but not at the moment. Yeah. Wow, I don't own Zoom yet.
We need to call Zoom.
Aside, Jeff, are you here?
Yes, I am. How are you guys?
Hey, great to have you on the call, man.
We're good.
Jeff, how are you guys? Good to see you guys.
For phase 2 in anticipation.
Just be careful. Don't go out like a lock-up chicken, right? So let's be careful.
Indeed.
Hey, Kwani, good to see you, man.
Very good to see you, Jeffrey. It's been a long time.
Long time.
Mrs. Quek is on the call too, but she's not an alumni. My God, man.
Hey, Jacqueline, how are you?
I'm fine. I won't be thrown out.
No, we want you to join the next program.
At my age, it's okay. You still take me
in? Age is not a problem. Age is just
a number.
Okay, just a number. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
I have a neighbor who at 92 years old, he wanted me to go over to his place to show him how to read his emails, how he should check his emails at 92 years old.
Amazing, yeah.
So it's never about age.
Yep.
Maybe we can do a hybrid climb feng shui program.
Feng shui?
Chinese metaphysics.
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Thank you.
Hey, it's gonna be a big day tomorrow for you guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite mad.
Wow, how many outlets are you reopening tomorrow?
1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. And one more on Saturday, and one next week, and one in the start of July, and then a couple more others. Not confirmed the dates yet. So yeah.
Wow. Well, all the best for you and your team.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Chef.
Hey, Mr. Quek, how are you? Wow, you're on the call too, my God.
It's a full team here.
Yeah, we just finished with Dion today, our first Lead and Construct online program, Wednesday, Thursday. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
With 27 participants. It was just incredible, all online. My God, man.
So, Chef, are you a convert?
Sorry?
Are you a convert? Will you do it again?
Because of Dion, I'm a convert. But man, I need my wine right now. All right, I see Chris is with me. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely, Christoph. I'm with you 100%.
Well, cheers. Tomorrow is going to be the new normal. So cheers to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers
to that.
Tomorrow is indeed going to be a better day.
Jared is here.
Zoom meeting.
Jason, should we get started?
Yeah, I think it's hello folks. Thanks for joining us this evening. I think we shall get started. It's 5 minutes past 8. So Dion, shall I let you take the floor?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. And I wanted to quickly introduce you to the speaker for tonight, and I'll do more in-depth introduction later on. Tonight, it's actually our virtual community event. It's going to focus on hospitality. We had our first event a month ago, and we had a lot of actually alumni from the hospitality industry, and I think there was a lot of good engagement, and we thought that I need to focus on this industry in the next topic. So this is our second time having a virtual event, and we're going to talk a little bit about hospitality of tomorrow. And with us, we have some alumni, Climb alumni, and we have Kwani here from Q Industry, and he's the Chief Operating Officer. We have Amos, the Director of Operations from Straight Plan, and then Dex, the Operational Manager for Travis Mysoro Restaurant Group. And they all have been through our Climb program, and they're really excited to share some insights and what they've been doing during circuit breaker, and what a timely event that, we got the news on Monday that a lot of the restaurants going to reopen. So I think they're going to share with you, what they've been doing, on what they will be doing tomorrow in the coming weeks. And also we have Clive. Clive is from Capella Hotel Group. We have known Clive for a long time. He was previously the general manager at the Ayana Bali Hotel, and then he moved to Singapore about, I think, a year ago, and then we're really happy that he's now in Singapore, closer to us with the Capella Hotel Group. And he certainly will share a little bit more from the hotel side, what they have been going through, and the outlook for the future. So I'm really excited to have them with us. I'll be moderating the event for this evening. I know some of you. My name is Dion. I'm the CEO of Climb by Town Plus. And for those of you who don't know Climb, I'm going to explain to you what is Climb and why we're doing what we do. So a little bit of a housekeeping issue or notes for everybody. Now, I know it's late, so if you're not in a PJ, feel free to turn on your video so that we can see your face and know who you are. But if you don't feel like it, you can also not do it. It's okay. When the presenters are speaking or presenting, we would ask you if you can mute so that there's not a lot of background noises. But you are welcome to unmute anytime if you want to share your thoughts, answer questions, or ask a question. Feel free to use the group chat function. My colleagues here, we're going to check the group chat function so that if you have any questions, we can also post it to the speakers. We would love for you to participate. This is meant to be interactive, so all questions will be great questions. We would love to hear from you. And then most of all, let's have fun. This is a relaxed evening. There's not a lot of serious topic. This is not a lecture. So let's enjoy and have a nice evening together. Zoom function, I assume you all know well. Just in case if you don't know, there's the bottom bar on your dashboard. That's where the mute and mute button. You can open your video, start your video. There's a chat function. When you press that, the chat box will open up. You can type the chat that everyone can see, or you can do a private chat to certain speaker or myself, if you have something you wanted to tell us privately. There's a reaction button, so you can raise hand or you can give a thumbs up so that the speaker know that you are engaged and you're really listening to what they're saying. Okay, let me just quickly introduce Climb. Chef, are you here? Can I see you?
I am here. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm here, loud and clear.
I want you to wave to the audience. you know, Chef Christophe Magel and I, we are the founder and co-founder of Climb. We created a program 3 years ago conceptually, and then 2 years in operation. And, you know, we got together and we said that how can we create a program, a training program that can help SME business owners that start with self-awareness and then build on the skills of leading team, leadership, innovation, digital branding, and also monetizing the business. So CLIMB is an acronym that represents 5 training modules. We always recommend people to start with leadership, learning about yourself first. And Christophe and I actually just finished 2 days our leadership modules virtually, Wednesday and Thursday. So we had a class, and it was really amazing. It was so excited to be kind of back in the classroom per se, and really helping people to think about leadership, think about themselves, how would they change things, thinking about team and engagement, and what a great timing, you know, a timing to sharpening your tools, you know, going back into, you know, kind of post-circuit breaker. So these are all the partners in Climb, including myself. Now, Climb is also a community. You know, a lot of people that came to our class today, and we said that, hey, let's stay in touch, you know, and you can text, email us and continue to ask questions. They said, wow, you're going to be so busy. Well, we want to be busy with all of our alumni, because our idea when we created Climb was to help people to self-discover, self-improve, and also for their, you know, for their company transformation. So I also wanted to introduce Jason. Jason is actually our community president, and he is the person, he's one of our alumni that gone through all the modules, and Jason came to us and last year and said that I really wanted to create a community to continue, you know, this networking, and I wanted to invite Jason to speak a little bit about the community, and actually he created the vision, mission, and values. So I'm going to share that with you right now.
So, well, when I went through the Lead and Construct training program that Dion and Chef did, it really gave me a different perspective of what I should be looking at as a leader. And then I realized that, hey, you know what, amongst the class, I'm amongst leaders, that I actually, you know, as a person, as a manager myself, sometimes I realize I need help. Not only that, you know what, the course helps me to help my company, but as a leader, sometimes I need help. So sometimes I could be, for example, I'm embarrassed to approach some of my peers in my industry. But, you know, I realized that with my classmates in Climb, I could actually approach some of them because we got the same view on things. We see things now from a talent plus perspective. We see our strengths, we see our own values. And with that, how then can we improve ourselves and go to the next stage? So with this, we gathered a few of us, like-minded alumni, and we created a community. So those who are actually amongst us, alumni as well, feel free to join us on our community. So what we do right now, as you can see on the screen, our mission, our vision, our values. So I'll just not read off the screen, but you know, right now what we've done is we've been meeting up on Zoom on a weekly basis to share about topics, to share about what's going on, to share about anything that might crop up in our careers, in our professional lives, or even our personal lives. So we talked about last month, you know, we talked about how are we managing through this crisis. What are we doing to pivot, and so on and so forth. So I do urge for those who have joined us today, if you are already an alumni, means you have went through the Lead and Construct course, do join us. For those who have not signed up for Lead and Construct, I would really urge you to sign up, because it really opened up my mind. It really opened up my eyes. Yeah. So Dion, back to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jason. So I would like to first introduce our first speaker for the evening, Dex. you know, we always like to introduce our speakers if they're an alumni with their top 5. It's how our language of love, you know, their top 5 strengths, you know, with rank order, and you can see it represented in this wheel. You know, each of the color represent, you know, a dimension, we call it. The green represent a leader's people action. The yellow represent thought process. How do they make decision? The red represent their motivation. You know, what really motivate them. So our first speaker this evening, Dex, you can see from his beautiful wheel, he has, you know, a lot of green. So it's immediately, you know, that Dex is a very people leader. Number 1, positivity. You know, I know Dex for a while, and every time when I interact with him, I say, "How are you doing, Dex?" The first thing he said, "I am on top of the world." That positivity is so contagious that every time you meet him, he is smiling, he is warm, he is friendly. He always gives you that good vibes. And I know that, you know, a lot of what he does is all about his team, the caring, the developer, teaching people how to do things, wanting people to succeed. And then the business focus is how he's very high level, but I know that when he makes his business decision, is always around people. How does people feel? That is the strength of the people acumen. But not to mistaken that, you know, he's only a nice guy, but he is extremely ambitious. You know, the competition, he always want to deliver the best, you know, service excellence, I think is the heart of what he does. You know, I wanted to pick up from where we were from last time. You know, I think Dex was in our webinar, and then he asked a great question. He said that, how are we going to deliver warm hospitality with a mask on? So I throw back the challenge to him and ask him, well, how would you do that? So I'm going to bring him on stage and talk a little bit about, you know, how he's going to do that and what's going to happen tomorrow when he reopened the restaurant. Where are you, Dex?
All right, I'm here. Hey, Dion, thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'd like to give thanks to everyone who joined us here. I hope that the following sharing will be insightful and impactful as we hope it to be. I do hope you are staying safe and excited about getting back to business tomorrow. I'm really, really excited to come back tomorrow. Well, after more than 2 months of lockdown, I'm sure everyone's looking forward to experiencing the new normal. Well, in the past 2 months that we all have no touch and feel of hospitality, perhaps some of us might be thinking about how things are going to look like when we all come back, you know? And I think I'd like to start off with a question, and thought this is something that's interesting. Does anybody here have a hard time remembering how to interact with guests? Chef Christophe?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be slightly different, but you know, I adjusted quite quickly to the new norm. But yeah, you have a point. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because things will change drastically around us. But I think we can. We have a good chance to show to the local customer community then F&B can adopt, and it's very agile. I think we are a very agile industry. We are not a sterile industry. So I think we have a good chance to show people, then we can come up to the challenge and perhaps focus on other area of services while they do all their non-touch point interaction like online menus and etc. etc. And wait staff can spend more time focusing on the real service. Over to you, Dax.
Exactly, Chef, exactly. Well, for sure, all of us here have years of experience in the F&B industry. But after more than 2 months of being confinement with no or very little social interaction, do you feel like we need a refresher?
Well,
I think so. No, everyone would need a refresher. So over here in this slide, I guess this is a screen grab from one of the establishment in the U.S. Is, you know, there's a lot of questions, and especially as what Dion has pushed me back. The question is, how are we going to deliver that warm hospitality wearing a mask? How are we going to show a genuine care and smile if we are wearing a facial mask, right? So when we smile, I think our guests can see and feel our energy and excitement. I think in the tap to order era, why do you think our guests still dine out? Given the convenience of ordering food using their mobile phones and have their food delivered at their doorstep, why do they choose to dine out? I think it's because of the warmth of the hospitality that they experience from us, you know. And also, you see that happiness. I think it's an emotion that we pass on to our guests. You know, smiling is an action. Being happy is an energy. When we wear a mask, we need to exaggerate more to show our smile. Over here, I think I'm going to show Dion two facial expressions here, and tell me which one that shows a smile on my face. So I'm gonna wear my mask, and you tell me which one would have a smile on my face. Okay, this is the first one. This is the second one.
We cannot tell.
No, I can. I can.
You can tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Your eyes.
Do it one more time. Do it one more time.
All right, one more. So this is the first one. All right, this is the second one.
All right,
Yeah.
man. The second one.
The
Flat
second
out.
one.
Fantastic, fantastic. You're all right, you know. I think always remember, it's not just the action of smile that we are wearing a mask. It's the way how you present yourselves to the guests. You know, if you're really proud and happy with what you do, everything would come genuinely. Well, we can always smile and not to be wanting to assist your guest. And always remember that the energy that comes within is what makes the interaction.
I think, Dax, you made a very, very relevant point when you say, when you come in front of the guest and you are very proud about what you do, proud of what you provide, and proud of what you put on the table, makes a whole difference. And with or without the mask, it doesn't matter, because on the end of the day, in F&B, the most important transaction is when the consumer consumes your product altogether, correct?
Exactly. You're very right, Chef. You're always right. No,
And,
Chef is always right.
and no, the chef is always right.
So that's the second question we have for you is, we talked about it last time too. What do you think, how would service excellence looks like after the circuit breaker?
Well, my take on this, I think, well, certainly there's a lot of approach to service excellence on how each property or establishment executes them. Well, I always believe not every establishment is the same. And how is it going to be different when we start to reopen tomorrow? Well, to be honest, we certainly don't have all the answers. But however, we are seeing some great commitments coming to some amazing changes to what's going to happen in the hospitality industry. And obviously, there will be concern over standard operating procedures changing. There'll be some steps added to our SOPs, temperature screening, safe entry policies. I think this practice is one of the biggest changes to the guest experience and may create a great deal of anxiety in our guests. And I think particularly as they will be worried about failing the temperature check, if you are required to test guest temperatures, I think you need to consider their comfort level by investing in thermal technology so it's more convenient for them. And also what I believe is important in delivering service excellence is to create the positive second. When they arrive, and tell them exactly what we are doing in these new procedures. Perhaps an example would be, Miss Deon will be taking your temperature as we get in your party. And I think when a guest is better informed, they feel more in control. And your sharing of information will improve their confidence levels in your service. And I think, and also when the guest comes to dine in with you, they will need to remove their mask. It's a big question, right? Where are they going to put their mask? Will they put that inside their pocket, or will they put that in the table? That would possibly contaminate your table or tablecloth. Or is your restaurant going to provide a tray or a Ziploc bag or any mask envelope to keep their mask? And all this goes back to the feeling of being thoughtful. And also, providing that service excellence is being polite and genuine. Certainly, when we get back to the restaurant tomorrow, some of us will start to take orders via telephone or via call or SMS, and be mindful of our tone of voice. How do we sound on the phone has never been more important, that we will be wearing a mask while working. The guest on the other end might not hear us properly, so when they ask you to repeat what you said, be polite. I think there's a good example over here, and this is something that we place as a role play for our team members and managers in the restaurant. And I thought of there's a lot of genuine care. There's a lot of warmth that's on these replies, and it was very, very helpful. If I will be the guest receiving all this warm response, I'll be loyal. I think they'll be the first restaurant that I will have in mind. Next slide, Dion.
Yeah.
All right. I think another slide over here is, again, this is something that's a role play scenario that we've put in, and I'd like to engage some of our participants over here. So mainly we have all the hospitality people over here. I think let me just pick someone over here. I'd like to choose Chris Williams to answer this email with being professional and providing that warmth. Chris?
Thanks, X. Well, this is a good example, I think, and I think that the most important thing to remember here, to look at here, is that this is an opportunity. And clearly the voucher is expiring, but the important thing to remember is that the guest is excited to return. And so it's definitely an opportunity for us to have the guest back, and surely it's not a big deal to push the expiry of the voucher. So really what we want to do is just have the opportunity to welcome them back. Of course, we can extend the voucher for them. Certainly during this period of time, in many industries, airlines, hotels, through Airbnb, rental car companies, extending vouchers or refunding tickets is certainly kind of the practice and the expected. So of course you have to live up to that, but it's also an opportunity and an invitation really to have them back, and clearly they've expressed excitement, so you need to reciprocate that excitement in your reply.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Chris. So a classic reply. Obviously, everyone's, if you guys are looking on this screen, obviously, I did get what I want. They replied, sure, have a great day. I did get what I want. So they extended my voucher, but did it leaves me a warm and genuine personalized experience? I don't think so. And I think involving our staff, make sure that all staff has an easy access to daily process briefing sheets, and make sure that protocols are updated. And this will ensure our team members are confident that they are sharing the correct information with the guest. Well, that confidence will come through in that conversations with with our guests. And also when we take reservations, we need to have that communication plan to ensure guests remains informed and their expectations are managed starting from the point of booking. I think from the guest perspective, it needs to be a very clear, concise information. It is very paramount, you know, but also make sure that the message is polite, work as a team to ensure communications are streamlined and will not overwhelm or confuse the guest. And also a simple gratitude from the heart works wonders. It could leave a lasting impression with most of our guests that if our thank yous doesn't have heart behind, it could sound transactional. Now, there's some samples of transactional gratitude. Let's say, thanks for stopping by, Miss Dion. But again, no, if you're going to put some heart on it, you could phrase it differently, like Mr. Chilong, such a pleasure to have you with us again, and we do hope you enjoy your takeout dinner. We're very eager to have you and your family at our dining table very soon. Stay safe, you know, and I believe that everyone can build a beautiful restaurant. We just need to fill this in with great team members, from the chefs, dishwasher, cleaner, servers to manager who really truly care and invested in genuine guest experience. And always create those guest-centric culture, and that would produce an excellent service excellence. And you know, I think I'm just gonna share a bit of this. During my hotel years, I used to work with Shangri-La, where their main company mission is to be guest focused. It's delighting customers each and every time, from the lobby, reception to servers, and everyone will do whatever it takes to make the guest happy. And they do this by being thoughtful, very caring, and empathetic. And certainly this uncertainty we are experiencing now happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. We have to get on with it, and we have to move forward. We just have to make the best out of each situation. Well, keep strong, keep doing what you love to do. We are all in this together. We will come out better and stronger. Be considerate, thoughtful, and mindful to everyone. Always come in every day with a big smile on your face. Be thankful to be working with your colleagues. Take care of your guests and how your establishment is known for service. Be one step ahead. Always be anticipatory. It's always adding one more step that goes a long way in delighting your customers. And always remember why we are all in this industry. So always have fun. Create that experience of warmth, genuineness with each guest. And by placing the trust to each of your team members and provide them with the tools that they need to be very, very successful.
Thank you so much for sharing that, you know, that passion for people, service excellence, and guest experience is all shine in your top 5 and your talent. There's a question from the audience. Maybe I ask quickly before we move on to Kwan Yi. How can we go that extra mile in a fast, casual dining with a mask on compared to an environment in a restaurant which is more relaxed?
I think that's a great question. I think that goes through on how your organization's SOPs work together. Perhaps why don't we ask some of our participants over here. Perhaps they could share with us what are their organization's best practices. Anyone?
Chef, how do you go the extra mile in a fast, casual dining compared to a restaurant that is more relaxed?
Is that for me, Dion?
Yes. You have 30 seconds to answer the question.
Okay, I'm putting my timer on, 30 seconds, game on. I think the most important is to make sure the guest feels comfortable, safe, secure, and has a very seamless experience. That is the most important. Everything has to work. We have to deliver quality, and quality is about making sure we deliver a service which is defect-free, full stop. And that is good enough for this point of time.
And I think to add on to that, to Chef's statement, I think it's all about the energy inside and excitement. You feel inside that it's the first time seeing your guests again, and and the energy that comes within that really makes the interaction.
Thank you, Chef. And we actually talked about it during our class today. Yeah, thank you so much, Dex. Please continue to engage with the speaker. You can post your questions on chat. I'm going to move on to the second speaker. That is Quan Nhi. Where is Quan Nhi? Quan Nhi is actually in Vietnam. And again, we want to pick up from where we left off from the last webinar. Last time, I think Chef mentioned that Vietnam is going through a V-shaped recovery versus then a U-shape like in Singapore. So I would like to invite Quan Nhi, because he sits in Ho Chi Minh City running a business, and they've reopened. What is he doing at Q Industries to, how does he, implement some of the new initiative to face this fast recovery in Vietnam? And Quan Nhi has also done our leadership modules. As you can see, his wheel looks a little different than Dex, but that's his talent. That's really authentically who he is. But you can see the teal color, number one is command, and then he has execution. It's all about influencing, actually getting people to do something together and achieve a common goal. So a leader, immediately you see someone that is decisive, take risks, and someone that take charge. The red again represent the motivation, and he has two areas that is his motivation, that is telling us that he's ambitious, he dream big, and always wanting to move things forward fast. So, and then how he does it is through the arranger. Arranger talks about him as a leader that is a great delegator. He understands how to arrange people resources, go down to the ground to do things with people to get things done. But, when we first look at, this profile, we would say, wow, it sounded like he's a taskmaster. It's like a general, right? But I think the mission in Quan Nhi, if you really get to know him and talk to him, he's actually very mission and purpose driven. He always talked about how he wanted to create greater meaning for the things that he does, for the business that he runs. And it really shined how he contributes to our community and helping people to be better. So I wanted to invite Quan Nhi to come on stage and actually present. I have a few slides, so I can run through that for you, Quan Nhi.
Right, thank you, Dion. And it's amazing if you look at the number of participants. I think Jason, it's something to be proud for the Climb alumni. We are 76 people today. I think it's a great job, and for Dion and Chef and all of us here, it's exciting to be able to share. I think for me, the first thing I always wanted to talk about is, why do I do this? I mean, the first thing I want to answer is, yes, I'm in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh. And I moved here about 2.5 years ago, and I was actually looking for an adventure. I'm a bit of a thrill seeker, so for me the adventure was beckoning, and I really thought it's time to do something different. And if I explain a little bit, it would make sense. But yeah, so I like the fact that being in the Climb alumni, you can reflect. It gives you that opportunity to stop, because I mean, all of us here, whether you're a business leader, whether you are an owner or an entrepreneur, reflection is important, and it gives you that opportunity with this alumni to network as well with similar people that have the same thoughts and share the stories. I mean, for me, I love stories. Like, those are the things I remember for most of my life and my career so far, are the great stories that have been told by either a manager or someone who was in charge of me. So Dion, we can go to the next slide. A bit of my background, I just want to quickly share that I actually spent almost 15 years with the Singapore Air Force. So maybe that's why Dion keeps saying general. It looks like a general wheel when it appears. I flew F-16s, and now I'm in Vietnam, doing hospitality supply. It's a game changer. So I'll talk a bit about the next slide, which will be about Q Industries Group. I mean, some of you may know Q Industries Group is a Singapore-based company, and the Q Industries Group today has offices in Malaysia and in Vietnam. We are basically providing products to hospitality, so like 5-star hotels, restaurants. We have our own range of products, and I like the easiest description, which our group CEO, Hui Lin, always uses, is if you were to turn a restaurant or a hotel upside down and you shake it and it falls out, we will supply it. All right, so that's pretty quick and easy way to remember Q Industries as a company. Dion, for the next slide, just quickly sharing, in Vietnam, we've actually done a flagship building. So we've expanded our services, and today in Vietnam, we have a restaurant. We have a culinary school as well. So we train professional chefs, and we also have a retail store. And we go, so that store sort of serves the B2C function more than the other part of the business. So on to the next slide, which was, I think, the main topic, right? Like Vietnam looks like a star today. I mean, we talk about the phenomenal recovery, and it is indeed amazing to see where Vietnam has come. I mean, it's a developing country with 95 million people, so it has huge domestic consumption, and its ability to restart its economy, it's amazing. I mean, living in Singapore and even talking to Chef, I mean, if I were to ask Chef how was your day, it's pretty much his bedroom to his office. And
yeah, traffic was very, very cool today, man. I mean, from my bedroom to my office, it was barely 3 minutes.
And Chef drives like a maniac with his Mini, so I think it could have been done in lesser than that. But Vietnam is now almost seemed like it's completely recovered. It's really it's astounding how the economy has kicked off again. To some extent, people always ask and say maybe the government isn't quite saying what it is, but when I see what's going on outside, it's completely amazing. So for those hospitality, for the hotel, F&B people, I really want to give you a lot of positivity here. So people like Bex, I think, I really will be very excited to see how Singapore is going to rev up the engine and restart, hospitality again. All right, the next one I just wanted to quickly talk about was about pivoting. I mean, this word, Jason loves to talk about pivot. So I actually did a lot of research about pivoting, and I'm not sure how many of you are doing the pivot. I mean, if you can type out or you can put a show of hands what you've done about pivoting your business. So Eric Ries is actually a person who's an entrepreneur from the US, and he calls it a change in strategy without a change in vision. I would say I half agree with him because of the fact that it's true. In a pivot, the vision has to remain the same, because you should not be changing something right now just because of the circumstances you're in. But I do challenge that. And Dion, if you could click one more time. And okay, so I really asked the question does strategy really matter at a time like this? Because right now, I think what really matters is you got to get tactical. So when I say tactical, I'm going to give an analogy next, and it's something that's very true to my heart, that for many years, I've spent flying jets, and we take orders from generals. And if you look at the left side picture, it's something that you would find very commonly in a lot of military literature, where the generals stand around a big board, like a map, and they discuss and they talk about what is the strategy for the war. When it comes down to it, and when you are a pilot sitting in the cockpit of an F-16, and your mission is to do close air support for the army, and there are troops down on the ground and they are suffering or there are casualties, the strategy isn't so much what goes through your mind anymore. It's the tactics that you're going to use. How are you going to put those two bombs on target to save the lives of the people who are fighting the ground war? So close air support is an example. And how does that relate to business? I mean, if you look at it today, much like business, we spend a lot of time doing business planning. I mean, all of us would have done a business plan that would say my 5-year strategy. But if you think about it, COVID-19 has totally taken your strategy and dumped it aside. I mean, for me, it's really made me reflect. And with the Q Industries management team, we've had to go very tactical, very quickly, and basically to take swift action. And I'll explain a little bit more coming up. If you can go, Dion, for the next slide, please. So I have 5 tips, and these are the 5 things that I think I've used very effectively in Vietnam. Remembering that the Vietnam market was like everybody else, it had a lockdown, so everything got shut. All the restaurants, all the entertainment, there was nothing. You know, the airline industry, there's still no international arrivals. You cannot travel, so it's all domestic consumption. And the first thing that we did from the management side was to measure everything. So for the first week, when we knew COVID was going to become a long-term issue, we had to measure everything. And I mean, don't leave anything out. And it comes from looking at your numbers, your cash flow, you talk about people. Once you measure, then you can take action. All right, so the next tip, number 2, be agile and decisive. I mean, sad to say, there was some actions that we had to do here when COVID became you know, a reality. That yep, we did do things that were difficult decisions, but we made those decisions. I had to close 2 offices in Vietnam. We did shut down our Hanoi and Da Nang office temporarily, and had to let off some staff as well. So it was something we did, but if you look at that squirrel that's sitting in the middle of the road, you have to make that decision. Otherwise, you're going to be run over by the car. So be decisive and be agile. That would be my tip number 2. All right, for number 3, it's pretty much what people are saying. Sharpen your tools. Dion mentioned it earlier that this is the best time to do it. When things slow down, that means you have more time on your hands. And one of the things that we have done in the last 2 months in Vietnam is really to relook at our SOPs. We've also relooked at our systems and done implementation and review. So it's really sharpening the axe, if you think about it, because when the business bounces back, which Vietnam is seeing today, and it's on an uptick, you really need to have your axe, and it's got to be sharp. So that would be my tip number 3. Spend the time now, go ahead, sharpen your axe so that you're ready. All right, so tip number 4, this is my favorite. I'm not sure how many of you follow Simon Sinek. I follow him a lot, both on social media as well as on YouTube. He has got some really good content, and one of the tips that I picked up, and I truly believe in this, and people in the industry, it works for me, especially when you can't connect as we used to be. I mean, social distancing today has put us further apart from each other than ever. But thankfully, we have technology, and utilizing the technology is important because it allows us to connect. And one of the ways is to create what we call the core team huddle. So identifying your core team and making sure that you connect with each other. It's like standing at the pantry and having that conversation. You can't do it, or you couldn't have done it in the last few months. But similar to that picture there, where you know it's all the team, and they're all doing things that connect humans. I think that's amazing, and that's tip number 4. The next one, this tip here, I think Dion, Jason will all be very happy. It's really, for me, surround yourself with like-minded people. It really, really supports your growth and helps you get through the difficult time. Regardless of whether you're a manager, a business owner, or just a leader in your industry, it's difficult. And when you are trying to get through it, it's easier when you get through it together. And being a Climb alumni, it's helped me actually share and listen to stories from everyone, with Jason in the lead. I mean, it's been amazing. So this is tip number 5. So if I can just quickly show you a summary slide there. Those are the 5 tips I have. And of course, pretty much what goes on in my mind is we need to be very conceptual with what we want to do and not think about it too operationally, because end of the day, COVID-19 has taught me one thing, is that whatever you have had, your preconceptions, they all get thrown out the window and expect it to happen again. So once you've prepared better, you'll find that even if certain countries are starting to see where COVID re-emerges, if you have your systems in order, your core team in place, you'll be stronger and you'll be able to continue with with your growth of your business.
Thank you so much, Kuan Yi. Very good, 5 tips, that you share. And also, give us a different perspective, what's happening in Vietnam, and good timing now that Singapore will be opening up and getting ready, kind of get back to some kind of normalcy. So I think the tips comes in really handy. Thank you so much. Yeah. Now I wanted to introduce my next speaker, Amos. Amos, where are you? Amos is from Straits Clan, and again, the wheel looks slightly different than Kuan Yi, but a lot of green area in his top 5 in his talent as a leader. That is telling us that, again, he's very focused on people. Number one, as a developer, I always see Amos, really always thinking about how can I grow my people. I think the first thing that he said, how can I grow my people? How can I make them better? How can I teach them so they can be better than me? And I would imagine a lot of people that work under him, he wanted to groom them to be that next generation of leader in the hospitality industry. Very team focused, always positive, another gentleman that always smiling, always had that good energy about him. But very motivated, had that high standard, working with the team, super resourceful and agile, when coming to getting things done, and ready to jump in to help the team to kind of run operation together. And I wanted to, kind of ask Amos, because I don't know if all of you know Straits Clan in Singapore. It's a really exclusive social membership club. So Amos, your entire business model is built around social gathering and social connection. So in the world of social distancing, how did you change your business model? What have you been doing?
I thank you. Thank you, Dion, for the introduction. And I'm so blessed to be able to speak to everyone tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And Dion's question was that, what the Straits Clan has been doing. I think we are also blessed in the world of internet and Zoom call. So we are still able to connect with our members through a lot of programming. Like, for example, tomorrow we are actually hosting a night that is stable coins, changing the future of money. And this Saturday we have a Mentees Art Educational connection with our members. And on the 24th, we have a former US ambassador to Singapore, Frank Lavin. So he will be sharing with us, the US and China relationship explained. And on the 26th, we have mentalist Tom Duval, Reading Your Mind. So I'm just saying out some of the program that has been done, or like recently we also have done some wine program, wine tasting, by our organized by our group beverage manager Matthew. Yeah.
And I know that during this time you have converted your kitchen to be a soup kitchen. Can you tell us more about the soup kitchen and why soup kitchen?
Okay, that's a good question. I tell you, maybe I will just share a bit more about Straits Clan, and to the context first, so that it's easier for us to relate back to later on the community kitchen. And so Straits Clan, I mean, there is a private members club, and a lot of people think that, what's so special about us? Is it because you need to have a lot of money to join a members club, like some of the clubs that's available in Singapore or globally? But I think to explain us who we are, to be clear, I think Straits Clan, we are born out of desire to inspire people to do more, do better, be the best version of ourselves. We are actually located in a street of clans. Around us, there's a number of traditional clans, and for us is that we want to connect you to anyone, with the best and the brightest. In order to sorry.
Very good, Amos.
Oh, are we still there?
Yeah.
Sorry. So Hello. Yeah, I just want to continue a bit more about Straits Clan. We are community building. We are thought leadership, and that's always on our heart. So if you come to Straits Clan, you are prepared to meet passionate individuals. Through our dynamic programming with assembly of entrepreneurs, creative, and those maybe fighting for a good cause. And that's a bit more of the Straits Clan. And now back to the community kitchen. I think we are very fortunate to do something. And I want to bring you back to the start of this community kitchen that we started off. This whole idea actually started off, the brainchild of it is Daniel Sia, our culinary director. So he saw that the group was vulnerable. The group that is our migrant workers, a group of people that actually has been with us, that have been neglected, They have been doing back-breaking labors for our society, be it the route that they built for us to travel, the house that we live, or, things that we own. And that's our daily life. And he saw the threat that was coming very close to them. And he had heard so many stories about not having proper meal when he was sharing the story. And for us, the Lo and Behold group, coming together and preparing meals, working with many different communities, like for example, I would say that we have getting the Lo and Behold group coming together, getting manpower support that's from various venues like the White Rabbit, the Black Swan, Sura, Tanjung Beach Club, just to name a few. And we are so privileged, to continue to serve and feed the community. And this time around is that we thought that how can we help them, and providing them a meal is something that is our core, and within the group, cooking. And Damien De Silva, our executive chef, he thought that if today he's going to cook a meal, it has to be something that can touch their soul. It has to be the meal that they are comfortable with. That's why there's a lot of dishes that he created with the chefs that they're all very close to their heart. I think the team come together. We are committed, providing 450 meals a day, and I think this is more than what we ever want to give back and show our gratitude.
I have a little video I would like to show with everybody, and I'm going to play it right now. Amos, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
Since the start of the pandemic, it's affected around the world. A lot of people helping each other, so I was very inspired, and I wanted to start a kitchen that can help the truly needy during this time. So I suggested to the management to help and see how we can start a kitchen like this to help the bigger community. We reached out to some charity organizations, and finally we found an avenue to feed the truly needy, which is the migrant workers that are really suffering at this point of time. We are also lucky to work with some other partners like Ugly Foods and all that. Use some of the surplus ingredients, and we've been getting a lot of calls from different suppliers, donate, hoping to help. We've been doing this since the 22nd of April, and we've been doing this 7 days a week, 450 meals a day. It's been tiring, but I think the whole entire team is very happy that we're actually doing something good that helps the community.
I think this gives us an opportunity to bring the team together, especially when during this period of circuit breaker where everybody's at home and feeling a little bit negative. This initiative gives us the opportunity building a team spirit and helping those that is really in need during this period of crisis.
I think it's an amazing movement. I am extremely grateful that we're able to give back to the community that helped build up this place that we live in. This is really gratifying to be able to help people who are less fortunate and are in extreme need of food, even if it's that one meal a day.
I thought that if I can give them a home-cooked Indian meal, things that came to my mind were things close, I guess, to a child's heart. mom would cook for you, you know, when if you were a young kid. It's the same way a mother would cook for every family and, you know, the children she loves. I mean, honestly, you know, that's what we do. It could be 450 meals. It does not matter. You know, it's the same thing. If we cook for 2 people, it's the same way we cook for 450. So there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of soul that went into the dishes.
Great video.
Okay.
Amos, I have to ask you before I let you go, how are you preparing your team for the reopening?
Oh, okay. Thank you for asking. I think it's a lot of preparation. Like last week, I had conducted a 3 days workshop with the leadership team. It was marvelous. You know, we had a great time getting to know each other. You know, and I actually use a lot of things that I learned from client, like for example, focusing on the strength. You know, and sharing with them my personal experience and how would I actually tackle some of the challenges or problem. You know. And we actually even go through topics like how to define our purpose, you know, with our mission and vision, you know. And there are the topics that we discuss, you know, how to build confidence in the new world of the post-COVID-19, you know, and topics like just now Dex has mentioned, delivering the experience is also part of our workshop, and we also try to create new memories, you know, experience for anyone that comes to Straits Clan. And I think that was a fantastic 3 days of workshop. Why I say it so? Because this week is their turn to actually conduct a workshop. So the young leaders actually today they just completed a 2-day session with our junior members, and I can see that the result is going to be awesome. You know, because in their eyes I sense a lot of commitment and courage to make a difference. Yeah.
I can see you the perfect, you know, trainer for your, you know, for your team. Your number 1 talent is developer. You like to be a coach and a mentor. So well done. I wish you all the best with the reopening. And Amos has been very generous, you know, offering, you know, anybody who come on the webinar, you know, have a special promotional code. For you're doing takeaway, right? Still at Straight.
Takeaway or delivery. You can go to our website, Odo website, and you can get the link. You can add in the promo code, and you get something from us.
And I have to say, I have ordered from Amos, and the food from Damien and Amos is just amazing.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. It was just fantastic. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, take a picture of this promotional code, and thank you so much for your sharing. Amos. And you're actually getting some comments. You know, Lena said, humbling, thank you, and well done, Team Lo and Behold and Straits Clan.
Thank you so much, Lina. Thank you, Lina.
Yeah. So,
Ji Leong, thank you so much.
last but not least, I wanted to invite Clive to come on stage. Clive currently is the Vice President for Operations over at Capella Hotel Group. And again, you know, Clive is not a Climb alumni yet, but I'm sure after today, he's gonna come and join us and drink our Kool-Aid. But he's been a long time Talent Plus, actually, client partners, and he had done our assessment profiling. He's received feedback. He is one of, you know, the most admired leader in actually, you know, internally at Talent Plus. And this is his talent. You can see a little bit different, you know, than other leaders that we've seen. Number 1, persuasion. So a lot of time when you interact with Clive, you know, he's really passionate about sharing his idea, guest experiences, about people, about innovation, about new ideas, because the persuasion is backed up by that strong thought process. Conceptualization, intelligence, executive skills is all going on in the head, you know. A visionary, you know, someone that actually can see far and take the team with him to go far. Conceptualization is all about that high credibility with strong personal value. You know, he really can connect the dots. And intelligence is about the curiosity. I think Clive is always very curious to think about how to improve guest experience, how to innovate, you know, how do we deliver that service excellence to, you know, people that he served or the people that he managed together. The individualized approach is his people acumen. So Clive is always very personable when you interact with him. He understands every person is very unique, and he always enable people to be their best self and develop them, you know, in their own ability. So he had that really intuition in him that about people. So without further ado, I wanted to, you know, have Clive, you know, to answer a few questions. You know, hospitality industry has been hit hard, I think, in the pandemic. You know, it's still, it's not quite recovered yet. And Clive, I wanted to ask first of all, you know, how are you doing? How's your team doing? How's Capella Hotel Group doing?
Thank you, Dion. Thank you first for facilitating this conversation. The team is doing well, you know, and Capella Hotel Group is doing well as well. I think in terms of recovering, it will be fairly regional. So, you know, in China, where you started to see that great glimmer of hope, and it's really good because we're so emotionally invested in the recovery of China, because you know that has so many other impacts to everywhere else. So one of our hotels is, you know, almost 90% domestic travel in Sanya, and they're doing very well at the moment. So we're tackling our concerns regionally, and it's good for Singapore to open tomorrow. But we believe it's a long road ahead, and our job is just to continue to, you know, really go back to culture, to reinforce who we are, so that it allows us to be resilient during these times.
Yeah. And Clive, you mentioned about culture. Capella brand DNA is all about strong employee engagement culture. I think at Capella, leaders at every level, they know that engaged employees build a strong culture. And research have shown that an organization with strong culture succeed faster for several reasons. Number one, it's better suited to weather the ups and downs, like, you know, right this time. It's more likely to attract top talents, the best in the business, and high talent combined with strong culture will really secure the organization to be in the place in best in class. So how do you continue to maintain that employee engagement and morale and strong culture during the pandemic?
I mean,
Can you share with us? Yeah.
Great question, Dion. I think this time is really about, you know, being generally interested in colleague welfare. It means there has to be almost an over communication. You can't take anything for granted. So you have to, you know, we facilitate this with our weekly Zoom calls, but you have to have those regular surveys designed to ascertain the pulse of the team. You know, you can't improve what you're not measuring, but no, it has to be a more proactive approach instead of having, you know, we have to measure every 3 months. Normally, now we're measuring every 3 weeks. You know, we need to find out where a team is, where the pulse is, what are their feelings are. So it's about supporting them with training opportunities. We've never trained as hard as we're currently training, but it's a conscious choice to ensure that the team is going to be better off after this is over. So, you know, we have to give them that professional support. In some of our hotels, we have, you know, psychologists who work with our rank and file team in supporting their mental health. And so we have also initiatives to support their financial health. So I think the underlying message is to communicate, care, and share. Now is the time to reinforce the culture, as mentioned, through lineups, to make sure your leadership lesson training doesn't stop. You know, you have to really be more dogmatic to make sure that your team members have that sense of belonging and purpose, even though the purpose has slightly shifted.
And you know, we have helped Capella Hotel Group measure employee engagement since 2008. And we know that your hotels, all of your hotels consistently score over 90% on Top Box in all categories. And Pride we measure pride. Pride is a category that consistently score very high. You know, your employees feel a lot of pride working at Capella Hotel. Do you think pride affect luxury service experience, and how would it change in the future?
I mean, great. The reality is that one's personal emotion as a colleague, as a team member, it impacts significantly the work performance. So it's a real tenet that is unchanging, regardless of our current situation. That is not changing. And individuals who feel good about who they are and the work that they're doing, they're going to excel. Which is why, you know, we see our team as craftspersons who really curate the experience for the customer. So we kind of subliminally focus on the understanding that if we place a high value on what you do, and we have a high expectation of your performance, this is going to actually elevate your performance. It's like what they call, I don't know if you've heard of the Pygmalion principle, where they had a group, and half of that group had a low IQ, and the second half had a high IQ. Now, the teachers who were teaching the class, they told them that the high IQ performers were actually low IQ performers, and the low IQ were actually high IQ performers. So the teachers changed their approach to who they perceived or who they thought were the high IQ performers, which were actually low IQ performers. So they had more eye contact, they spent more time, they had you know, a great expectation. And so when the actual test came, those who had the low IQ actually had outperformed the high IQ because of the expectation that was placed on them, the care that was given to them. And that's what we believe. So we believe that this is a tenet that will not change in the future, and it becomes even more now relevant with this, you know, greater degree of assurance and care that our customers are going to need. It's more essential that there's pride, so our craftspersons really see themselves as craftspersons.
Does your hotel pipeline change in terms of opening? I know that you're opening a hotel in Hanoi, right? How are you going to open a hotel during the pandemic? What are you doing differently?
Well, you know, it's a lot more Zoom calls, and to translate a culture through Zoom is going to be very challenging. But we're going to be opening, you know, prior to the end of the year, and we've done a lot of the legwork remotely. So it may require a 2-week quarantine, but we are going to be able to be there to really reinforce the culture, because that's what's going to allow us to launch our product in that market successfully. It's that there's going to be that buy-in for the culture. So thankfully we have great support on the ground now, but the processes don't change. You know, our partners don't change in Talent Plus, and these are the things that allow us to be successful. So those tenets don't change. You know, if you keep the recipe the same, the cake is going to be just as tasty. The only difference is distance in this case.
Very true, very true. Now, do you think has the pandemic changed guest behavior or desire experience? And what are the key strategies you're looking at to reboot the industry? You know, how does that luxury hospitality market looks like in the future?
You know, I believe, Dion, it's very hard to say at this time. It may be a little too early to predict. And as it's going to be, the reaction is going to be different regionally. And that's related to, you know, the societal values and the norms. So our experience in some hotels in China, they see our hotels as a vessel of safety. And I think this belief will be consistent across all markets. So whilst there will be this hypersensitivity on cleanliness and safety, and there will be a renewed focus on well-being and social consciousness, far more than we've ever had in the past. So, but I know of only one strategy to reboot, and that is for us to really sharpen our saw, that we are better prepared to serve, and in terms of training and reinforcement of culture. So we as hoteliers have to be very careful that our marketing is closely aligned to the sentiment of our target market. You know, you don't want to be, you know, shouting on the top of your lungs and on a soapbox, and these are the promotions, and we're having these reductions, when the market is not ready to receive that message, and there may be greater concerns that they're dealing with. So it's about timing, and our preparation is just to continue to sharpen our saws.
Excellent. And I hear a lot of actually message that echoing with other speakers tonight. You know, you talked about, you know, measure more, like Kwan Yi said, you know, over communicate, over train, you know, like what Dex and Amos talks about. And also you said sharpening your tool, you know, to be ready when things recover and when you have to deliver that service excellent again. That's great. I have a few slides to show. Would you like to maybe walk us through?
Okay, well, you can go back to the first slide, Dion, and then I will just, well, the one there, yes, you can leave it there for now, and then we can just give you some examples afterwards. Because we talked about, you know, the importance of DNA. And if you think of the structure of DNA in its purest form, it's dynamic along the length, and it's almost being able to be wrapped into a coil, like you're creating a chain, you're forming a chain. And that's how we visualize colleague care. It's kind of interwoven into the organizational culture, and it forms that lattice that supports the foundation. So COVID-19 is absolutely creating cultural and well-being challenges, and it presents some real leadership opportunities. But certainly there's a strong business case to focus on well-being, you know, including reduced turnover. You have, you know, greater employee satisfaction, and of course, ultimately customer satisfaction. But my concern is there's no point in investing in well-being if it's not supported by the organizational culture. There's no culture to support it. So a strong culture will power the communities in challenging times, and a healthy culture helps in creating resilient communities. So in the words of the immortal Peter Drucker, I see some of us have quoted on him this evening, strategy eats breakfast every day. And that is our focus in really creating a culture where you generally want to see people thrive. And I saw sentiments of that in Amos and the Straits Clan. You know, the idea of this culture of care cannot be superfluous. It cannot be seen as something that's over there, you know. You have to be seen as doing something. And so it is, you know, doing those tangible acts that are institutionalized in the organization. You know, they're concrete and they're reinforced along the DNA of the organization. So our human resources are, and everyone knows this, you know, and some companies or organizations practice it or believe it's stronger, but our human resources are our only sustainable competitive advantage. Okay, and I'm going to say it again. Our human resources are our only sustainable competitive advantage. So in coming back to the case of, you know, the good business model, our job is to, as leaders, is to create those processes that are institutionalized and institutionalize our own care. And for our hotel group, it's really among 4 pillars. It's talent selection orientation, talent enhancement, culture enhancement, and performance enrichment. And I'm just going to touch basically quickly on our talent selection orientation. We are quite blessed to have partners such as yourself, Talent Plus and Dion, in facilitating this, because we believe that we invite people to be a part of who we are, and we want them to join us. And we think it's immoral to have people join us and then say, we'll bring out the card and say, oh, by the way, this is who we are. This is who we are. So we want to be able to have we have a 3-day orientation where we inculcate people into who we are and what is it we do. And it doesn't stop there. That care continues, because 30 days later, we're going to come back to them and we're going to say, you know, how are you doing? You know, are we fulfilling our promise? What are the obstacles that you have been presented? Have you gone through your training certification? Has this all been done? So that talent selection orientation is translated into a specific action which contributes to the organizational culture. So our Vice President Jacinta, one of her favorite sayings is that, she says it often, is that, culture is not only for yogurt. So I view culture slightly differently. I view it as a watch where, you have the face of the watch and beneath it you have, up to 100, moving parts. But no part is more important than the other. But the face, gives you the time, and it gives you that direction on how to manage your day. So I suppose the concept that I'm trying to share is that in particular during these times, we have to really rely on culture, because it guides us as to what the best decision is for people, and the culture shows you when you have a disconnect between a decision and who you say you are. So even when there are tough decisions, the culture guides you as to how to do it. So the culture also encourages leaders to perform actions that are aligned to the culture, because if those actions are not done, then the leadership lacks credibility, because you say, we're doing this, but this is not who you say we are. I had a friend, this is almost a story of two airlines. I had a friend who regrettably was laid off from an airline, and they had released pilots and pursers, and her experience was it was so cold and callous. And I had another friend who was also released from airlines. It's not been a good week for some of my friends, but her experience was the exact antithesis. There, it was done in care and concern, and she left feeling that if I were able to be fortunate at some point to be able to re-engage with this organization, then I'd be very, very, very happy. So and culture gives you that guidance, that barometer. So during this time, we've done a lot of digital communication, and the vehicles have slightly changed, but the message hasn't. It's similar to Pivot. So we're looking at communication, continuous over communication of care, focusing on continuous improvement. We want our colleagues to be lifelong learners. That's part of our colleague promise. So even though our purpose has shifted slightly, now we're focused on sustaining the business, and we're doing that through lateral service, where you have spa attendants being landscapers. We're still preparing ourselves through training to be ready to serve better. As I said before, we're training more than we've ever trained before. So there has to just, buckle down to that commonality and alignment in purpose, so that we can move ahead after all of this passes. And the question is, will this approach work? And we've seen it in our properties in China as they open up. You've had properties, in particular in China, as I mentioned, where they're heavily dependent on their domestic travel, which is 90% of their business. And the team has been cared for in this communication, Zoom classes, bringing psychologists to ascertain their welfare, initiatives to support financially. And so the hotel, upon opening, has moved to the top of its concept, and now it is blowing away the competition, in terms of the key performance indicators of market share, customer satisfaction, and also turnover. And turnover not only as a function of because people they were afraid to move and not have a job. It was because of I valued how I was treated, and I feel a sense of commitment to the organization. That commitment is now reinforced to a turnover where their turnover numbers are 200% less than what it was in previous years. So we feel that it's a strategy, the refocus on culture and the reinforcement of it is a strategy that will make us successful.
And you have a few of the slides here that shows.
If you go one bit back, one back is just our hampers that we receive while we're at stay at home. And if I don't want you to go too deep, because there's a picture. It's a guidance team, and we're actually, it's a circuit breaker stay home hamper. There's a picture of some of the VPs. We're having a sleepover, so we have our blankets and everything. So that's there. And the next slide is just, as I mentioned, the daily welfare check on our colleagues to have a pulse to see how they're doing. And then that is our Zoom calls that we are facilitating, just to make sure that we maintain our communication with our colleagues and keeping them updated on the news and changes. And then the next slide is just the private Facebook page that we created for our colleagues, trade homemade goodies with one another. Just keeping the relationship closely knitted and bonded. And this slide is some of the professionals that we have solicited to provide, famous positive psychologists to online learning courses, just to help us dealing with emotions, optimism, advantage, and just general help. And then this is in Indonesia, where it's just our daily checks on our team members who have been in quarantine, just giving them their at-home care and kits, vitamin C, thermometers and masks, daily welfare. We check on them twice every day. So it's just about over-communicating and sharing.
Thank you for your sharing. Clive, we have a lot of questions from the audience to you. Let me read them off to you so that you can answer. We have about 5 minutes before we close, so I'm going to quickly do that. It said, hi, Clive, what sort of actions can be done to ensure the employee and guest safety is well taken care of during new normal situation?
Well, what we've done is there's a plethora of information that's out there as to the procedures, and we've closely aligned ourselves with WHO, CDC. We've taken information from regional best practices, hotel best practices, and we've really created a very comprehensive document as to the procedures per department, per area, in very broad pillars. And these range from thermometer checks twice a day, the mask, the use of PPE, where do we use electrostatic cleaning, because that has gotten a lot of publicity, but it may not necessarily be the primary source of cleaning that's required. So we've created a really comprehensive document and established checklists for properties as well as action plans, which was really formed from all of these core concepts, in terms of just a refocus on HECCP concepts, and really educating the team, setting up notice boards in our areas so our teams are understood what the process is, revision of our training certifications, so our teams understand the new processes that they have to adopt in creating that environment. So colleague care is extremely important, particularly in some areas such as the spa. How do you safe distance in a spa? We have to make sure that our team members, our colleagues are really felt well cared for, well assured, that they pass on that level of assurance energetically to the customer during that process. And it's all about, it was mentioned also by Chef, in terms of, lifting the veil and letting guests understand what the expectation is going to be. So we have almost like a mini Bible, which has been rolled out. And of course, it's a continually evolving situation. I'm sure in the next few weeks, we have to look back at it. But it's a lot of opportunities also for hotels in looking at digitization and seeing what opportunities exist in terms of, mobile check-in, contact-light experiences, because luxury is still choice and people have to have that option. So those were just form part of initiatives. Some initiatives are more long-term, but we've done some really quick and immediate short-term fixes as well.
Another question from Mohammed, I think it's good. Do you think by automating operation of the hotels with technology like artificial intelligence can help with hotel operation to increase customer experience?
AI does have a space in the new world, and particularly when it comes to those areas that you don't necessarily require heavy human interaction. To have a ballroom being cleaned by AI, but hospitality is about people. And so we need to be able to outsource those AI functions to those redundant, tasks to free up the time so that we can focus on customer relationship and interaction with our team. So AI has a big part, and it's something that we are looking at, but we do recognize the limitations in the hospitality world, for our model at least, for the luxury market.
Mm-hmm. And one of the questions say with occupancy at low 20%, potentially less in some hotels, how do you ensure your returning talent you know, those who may be asked to go at the moment on no pay leave continue to live the Capella culture? That was a question.
I mean, great question. You know, we have to be part of one of the tenets of leadership is authenticity. And so, you know, we have to really set the stage as to, you know, what we foresee will be happening and over communicate. So when you have that level of honesty and authenticity, and your team believes that you're doing the best that you can for them, and you are being factual, honest, it creates a great sense of credibility, and persons are willing to, you know, to have that sense of, I don't like to use the word loyalty, but are willing to stick with you for this, with the understanding that it will get better, you know. But if you say it will get better and there was no credibility, then that won't happen. So what we're looking at now is we're benefiting from our past performance, you know. So all the times that we've walked the talk and talked it and executed and did it, and you have this trust, okay. So now that there is this opportunity where you may have to make those tough decisions and say, okay, someone's on 25%, because you have built up that credibility. Persons are willing to make that sacrifice and take the chance with you.
Thank you so much. I think I have all the questions answered, and I really appreciate your time today, Clyde. Great to have you with us. I just wanted to end the session. I know we're running on the dot at 9:31, Chef, with letting you know, if you want to be part of our community, if you want to be part of Climb, you know, these are the upcoming modules, you know, in Singapore, you know, it's going to be a virtual class. It probably will be for a while because of social distancing. But as you know, our classes are all 90% funded by SkillsFuture if you are an SME, or there are other funding criteria as well. I know a lot of you are from Indonesia. We're actually bringing Climb to Indonesia, doing a 2 half-day session. So if you're in Indonesia, you're interested, you know, you can actually scan this QR code and then get more information. I really wanted to thank you for your participation today. It's great to, you know, be with the speakers and learn so much in the last hour and a half about hospitality of tomorrow. Before we close, Jason, is there anything else you wanted to announce?
Well, this is our second event, so I think we are getting some sort of momentum. Do look out on our LinkedIn page, Facebook, and if you're on our mailing list, you probably get a mail as well. Do watch out for our next event in a month's time. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. Again, we would really like you to be part of the community. And again, I just want to share, thank you for the suggestion that we should be on Instagram. But the community, for us, it's more about the personal connection with each other, because it's about learning about ourselves and about our talents. So that's why whenever we do the sharing, it's to reference directly on our talent card. So you have to be alumni to be part of the community. So do take part in the Construct and Lead or any of the upcoming classes, and we can talk more after that. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm gonna sign off, and you know, I would wish everybody a good night. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.